You never know the opportunities that will come up just from showing up. I was talking the other day about that Club Shay Shay interview with Terry Crews and this idea of being consistent, showing up, and doing everything as if you were going to get $1 million for it. And it's interesting how different opportunities come around. A lot of it's that idea of luck where preparation meets opportunity, right? What have you been working towards? Even if you don't see it yet, what have you been working on and improving on without necessarily any goal in mind? And then the opportunity just shows up and it's like, man, hindsight is 2020 and it looks like you've been preparing for this moment the entire time. And now the opportunity is there. Fascinating concept. But I say all of that to say it's really cool, an opportunity that I may have coming up here in a little bit. I'll give you a little bit of context. Being one of the assistant coaches for the gymnastics team at Andrews, there's been a lot of really cool people I've gotten to meet over the years. And a lot of the coaches that I've worked with and that were coaches when I was just a regular team member, some of them have moved on and are doing different things now, but may still be in the area. And one of these guys in particular, my guy Ryan, I miss this dude. He's hilarious. And he's like a handstand guru. But he ended up transitioning out, doing some other things with life. He got married, so shout out to him for that. And he started working at the local jail. Now, he'll show up in the gym from time to time. Definitely not as much as we would like to see, but he's got his thing going on. They work some crazy shifts, and he's handling his business out there. But last night at practice, he happened to be there in the beginning. I hadn't seen him for a good minute. I don't remember the last time I saw him. But we ended up talking about different things, and I don't know. It was almost like oh shoot, this thing was sitting here in the conversation the whole time for as long as we've kind of known each other over the past year and some, and yet it never came up until last night. And there was this realization like, oh shoot, how come we never thought about this before? And it was basically the opportunity of getting involved with prison ministry where he's working. Now, the thing that's fascinating to me about this is I don't remember a lot from my youth growing up in the church. But I do remember that something my dad and some of the other guys in the church would do was prison ministry. And I always thought it was an interesting concept to go to people who had done whatever they had done to be in jail or prison, and you're going to minister to them. And I don't know, it just seems like in that kind of context, it would be very weird interacting with people who are there because it's obvious the things that they've done wrong. Like it's different when people can kind of hide those things and maybe pretend that there's somebody else and you're engaging with them and they can put on that facade and you have no idea. But it puts you in a completely different position when the people that you were ministering to or trying to show Jesus to, it's kind of obvious the things that they've done. Like that's different. That's different. And I think it's a more real version of what Jesus came to do, because the reality is we're all sinners, and just because I'm not in jail doesn't make me any better than somebody who is in jail. We're all people and we've all made mistakes. We've all fallen short of the glory of God and we all need a savior for sure. But understanding that, it's like, well, how do I relate to people? Do I treat people who I know have made mistakes a certain way, and the people who I don't know, I just kind of act like it's all good and keep it pushing? It's been interesting. I never had that experience, even though I knew that my dad was involved in it. But I never forgot about it. I'll put it that way. Fast forward several years down the line to my second time in Palau in 2015, and our pastor Tiago, he had a passion for prison ministry. And I'm going to give a shameless plug for the documentary Return to Palau. I don't know exactly what platforms it's on, but if you Google Return to Palau and watch that. It's amazing. You'll get to see kind of just a snippet of the story where Pastor Tiago talks about his passion for prison ministry and the doors that opened. But me being there at the same time as him, as the pastor, and being the chaplain for the schools at that time, we got to work really closely together, and I became a lot more involved in prison ministry than I ever would have thought that I would while I was there in Palau. Made a lot of good friends and became pretty cool with a lot of the guys there in the prison, just relating to them as normal people, even though we're behind bars doing it. It's crazy. But I really appreciated that experience because, like I said, it's different trying to witness and be like Jesus to people who look like you, act like you, have the same principles and express values as you. That's easy, but it's not a fully real version of Christianity, because the real version of Christianity is where you take all of that stuff and you bring it to everybody. That's what Jesus did. And so much so to the point where people accused him of having, oh, you hang out with those sinners. Look at you. And they're trying to put Jesus down because the people in the company that he's keeping. And it's like, no, that's the point of the gospel. At its most practical and applicable, that's the point of it. And so I think there's a lot of thought-provoking that needs to go on for modern day Christians today. It's a little bit redundant, but there's a lot of thought-provoking that needs to happen for modern day Christians, because I think we get it twisted and we're missing out on a big opportunity by doing that. In fact, I think that we're probably missing out on the entire point of Christianity by doing that. Fast forward, I've been here in Michigan for a few years, and especially over the last year, I think, I've been looking for ways to kind of plug in and find new things to do, to engage in some kind of ministry. It's never been my desire to be a pastor, and I respect people who feel called to do that role in that particular kind of way. But maybe because of my own experience, I've never felt like I want to be around people who think like me and sing like me and sound like me and look like me all the time. I've always kind of wanted to reach out to people who are different. And so in talking with my friend Ryan, it turns out that there are chaplains there at the jail. And he's like, man, how come I never thought that this would be something you'd be interested in? He thought about it. He's like, I think you'd be a good fit for it. And I was like, man, that's kind of interesting, because I'm looking for opportunities to kind of plug into things that isn't just preaching. And here we are, random conversation where this happens. So I ended up filling out a form today and sending it back, and we'll see what happens. But it's just cool that there's an opportunity there, and I'm looking forward to exploring and kind of seeing what happens, because we're here to serve. And if I can show just a little bit of something to somebody, I without a doubt, I'm going to learn some things in a position like that for sure. But if I feel like if I can go and be a rep for Christ in a place where guys are struggling and have done things, well, shoot, that's what Jesus did. And to me, that's walking in his footsteps. And if I'm claiming to be a Christian, then it probably means the example of Christ is something I should be interested in, At least a little bit. At least a little bit. So we'll see what happens, but I'm looking forward to it. And who knows? I might have an update here in a week or two. We'll see it when we get it. So until then, I'll catch you. Stay tuned. Like, subscribe, and share. Let me know what you think down below. Peace.